Firstly, I want to say thank you to you both for accepting the invitation on behalf of Crew Connect Global to be part of this communication case study on the Wednesday, 13th of November at 9 a.m., where we will be talking about, for the first time, as far as I'm aware, this is the first time ever at one of these maritime events that there is a panel discussion that is completely dedicated to social media. And I think we have, a stellar panel joining me. So obviously we have Ivan Guzman, and for those who are not familiar, Ivan Guzman is a very prevalent character within seafaring, specifically in the Philippines, um, with millions of followers on TikTok, over 2 million, I believe, 2.4 if I'm correct, Ivan. Am I right? 2.4 million now?
Yeah, yeah. Wow.
2.4 million followers on TikTok and over 600,000 on Facebook. Now, of course, there's only 1.9 million seafarers in the world, so it's wrong to assume that all of those followers are seafarers. But I know for a fact, after seeing Ivan's content, that it is heavily orientated around seafaring, and a large part of his audience are, of course, seafarers, but more importantly, aspiring seafarers. And I think that is where I really, really see the strength of social media. And what I want to dig into a little bit more with both of you guys is social media, right? There are some people say it's good, some people say it's bad, but what we can't deny is that it is a tool that massively inspires the next generation. And what's your thoughts on that, Ivan?
Well, as for me, social media right now is a very great tool in order for us to, widespread information, disseminate information to people. And I think that in the era where we are now advancing, I think utilizing it in our own advantage, especially in the scope of the maritime industry, is very important. So I think we should always weigh in the advantages and disadvantages of social media, but if we have that percentage wherein we could use it into a positive impact and alleviate, for example, the image of the maritime industry, I think we should do so.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And Therese, from your perspective, so for those who don't know, Therese is head of crewing at Pacific Basin, which just so happens to be Ivan Guzman's shipping company. But Therese, from your perspective, what's your opinions of social media, specifically within crewing? I know that you've only recently joined Pacific Basin, but you have an extensive career in crewing as a whole. So generally speaking, what's your overall thoughts of social media and the approach that shipping companies have to social media?
Yeah, thank you, Carl. So basically, social media, based on my experience, is somewhat treated or considered as double-edged sword. It can either promote the brand of the or possibly also break it or could go negative. So it's a delicate thing that the companies have to manage themselves. So that's why there are different companies and they have their own policies about social media. But I think social media is now being used as a very good marketing tool or a very good tool to promote the company and especially on recruitment as well. So I think the companies or the many agencies are now inclined to rely on the social media platform in order to attract more seafarers and to promote their brand.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. For me, it's probably the only tool that you can use nowadays to speak to the next generation. Unfortunately, we don't live in a world anymore where 18-year-old guys and girls are reading magazines. That those days are over. We consume content in a different way, and I think it's really, really important that instead of complaining about new things, we take new things on and use them to our advantage. And speaking about using it to the advantage, I read somewhere that Pacific Basin have actually used Ivan sometimes in some of their marketing materials. So would this lead me to assume that Pacific Basin have a very positive image of how Ivan specifically uses his social media platform to benefit the company?
So basically, the company recognizes Ivan. I think we're like lucky having Ivan. Not all companies have a social media as famous and we understand and we respect what's Ivan's purpose of doing that, and we recognize that it is very helpful, not for the company, but I think to the industry as well. Being able to promote seafaring and being able to convince other future seafarers to join the industry because right nowadays, we have to get more seafarers in the pool, the good ones. So we would like to encourage those seafarers and we don't want to come to a point that we don't have or we will have scarcity of seafarers in the market. So from our perspective, company's perspective, is we support Ivan on what he does, but of course we have this discussion at Ivan that the limitations of doing the social media contents on board the ship. So we do support him, we do recognize his actions, and we do some collaborations already being done. And I think it works both ways for us right now, having Ivan in the team.
Yeah, I totally agree. And Ivan, I remember when we had a discussion a few months ago, you said to me, and I'll never forget it, you said to me, social media has been very, very important for me, but you must adhere to the company policies. And you've always highlighted the importance of that mutual respect between the employer and the creator. Maybe you could talk a little bit more about that.
Well, in my case, on my end, at the end of the day, I sign a contract with a company, and we cannot really deny the fact that I am still part of the fleet as a worker, as a crew. So I must respect and I must adhere to what I have signed into the contract. And right now, as a content creator, I was able to manage that mutual respect with the company as well as my craft. So usually when I create contents on board, people might assume that I am taking videos of myself while during at work, but in reality, I spend a portion of my time doing that shot, editing my videos during my free time, and I always reiterated it to my company when or previous fleet manager contacted me and asked me regarding how I create my content. I always say to them that I always prioritize my safety because in on board safety was always be in the top priority. And of course, creating contents while it boosts our morale and alleviate or get rid of stress on board. I think limitations should always come first. And I always, in the past, Crew Connect, I always say that professionalism should always come first. I mean, for me, my passion towards content creation will always be there. But I'm proud to say that within myself, when we talk about work, when we talk about my profession, my my uh, my work is undeniably satisfactory based on also on my critics from my past officers, and I don't think that that affects my work as a seafarer. As long as you know how to manage it, and as long as you know what kind of contents to post, I think there is nothing wrong about utilizing social media on board, especially that we are already on board to work. So we must find an outlet for us to be able to let go of the heavy loads that we have. And I think for me that is social media content creation.
Very well said, Ivan. I think one of the things that really impressed me about yourself is how you highlighted just how much time it may look to some people from the exterior as if that you are spending all of your time making these videos, but that's just a fragment of your, more importantly, free time that you spend creating content. And what people don't see is all of that hard work that you're putting into your voyage while you're on the vessel. But I hope you don't mind me sharing this. I know now that you are currently back in the Philippines and you are studying to become an officer. So that just
Yes.
goes to show you. That just goes to show that actually one can be a content creator and create fantastic images and videos, but still in the background is working hard to excel in their career. And I think that you're a fantastic case study of that. Ivan, I'm curious. I mentioned earlier on about the 2.4 million followers that you have on TikTok, and of course, we can't assume that all of them are seafarers. But do you have any understanding in terms of the statistics of how many of those followers across Facebook and TikTok are either aspiring seafarers, current cadets, working seafarers, and are they only from the Philippines, or would you say your audience is global?
Well, to be honest, I really don't have that very specific or fixed statistics regarding the numbers or how many followers of mine are cadets, seafarers. But all I know is that majority of my followers really revolves around the maritime industry or the spectrum of the maritime industry. May it be the cadets, may it be the seafarers, families of the seafarers, wives, children of
Yes.
seafarers, or those who aspire to become a seafarer. Because I think the maritime industry right now, we may see a lot of contents, other content creators, seafarer content creator posting videos, posting contents on board, but we cannot deny the fact that most of that contents are for entertainment purposes only. But for me, I create my content based on my passion of educating younger seafarers, of sharing what really life on board is to the families of seafarers, what the cadets would expect that they will do on board someday. And I think I'm living that purpose right now. And when it comes to the statistics, I think majority of my followers really revolves around seafarers or the spectrum of seafarers.
Very well said. I think you mentioned something there that perhaps doesn't get enough attention, and that is the stakeholder of the family of the seafarer themselves. There may only be 1.9 million seafarers in the world, but when you look at the family of the seafarers, that's a much larger number. And perhaps this is one for you, Therese, but I think that quite often, sometimes people forget that you'll have a seafarer who's away for 6 months on a contract. But all of that money goes back to the family. Every time they get paid at the end of the month, that money usually goes back to the family. And quite often, the decision maker of the family is usually the wife who's back home, because they're the woman that's looking after the children, looking after the house, especially in the Philippines. With that being said, do you think that shipping companies are aware of this and within their marketing materials, similar to how Ivan said that his followers are a lot around family, do the shipping companies talk to the families or support the families of seafarers?
Yes, definitely. I think most of the companies are most companies programs are including the families. Like what we have in Pacific Basin, we actually give a lot of value to the family. We create programs for them, activities. We do Christmas parties with the families because we do recognize, and I think other companies also do this because we do recognize the importance of the family who is supporting our seafarers on board, who is encouraging them or giving them the motivation to continuously sailing for the ship, right? Because I believe that our seafarers, they are 50% motivated because of their dream of becoming a seafarer, but 50% is also is they all to provide for their family. And being a seafarer on board is very difficult. You know, being away with the family, most of the time 70% is at sea. So they need to have some support and make them feel that their family is always with them through giving them internet connections on board, being able to give them the access to speak to their family. And from the shore side, also, we make their families at the same time. So for for the companies providing or making family members or giving value to the family members of our seafarer is one key to success of having satisfied or happy seafarers in the crew. And that's one to keep them with the company, and also making them feel valued, especially the wives. It's also making our lives easier, especially when the seafarers we need them to go on board, like on a short notice. The wives we usually talk to them instead to the husbands in order to convince the husband to join the ship or to take this assignment. So important to make that relationship, that connection to the family, especially to the wives. And for the kids also, the it's I think what Ivan is doing also, giving this educational videos, and it's not only for the future seafarers, but I think it's also giving inspiration to the kids, or making the family feel, um, giving them the sense of appreciation to what their family member or to their father, to their brother is doing on board the ship, right? So they appreciate the hard work, they appreciate the um, what is the difficulties and challenges on board, and that makes them feel more appreciative of the efforts that their loved one is doing for them.
Yeah, that's so well said. I actually think that's something that perhaps even myself I don't think about enough is just how far this network goes, right? Ivan creates a video talking about some topic around, perhaps I know you recently did a video not long ago about the Magna Carta, and explaining to your audience about the Magna Carta and your perspective of this historic signing. Seafarers will see it. Those who are passionate about maritime as a whole will see it. Aspiring cadets and maritime students will see it, but also the families of seafarers, the children, the wives. And I think that that plays such an important role on the reassurance and the pride. You know, sometimes because they don't necessarily get to see their family member at sea, they don't know exactly what they're up to. But seeing these small videos on social media allows them to have an inside look of what it is their loved one does for a living, and emphasizes that sense of pride, which I think is really powerful. Guys, we'll leave it there for now because I don't want to run out of questions for the day. But I think this is a really big topic of conversation that we could talk about for ages, and I hope that we can have as many people come to Crew Connect on Wednesday, the 13th of November,